Good evening, kind souls of the internet. It is me, Count T, and we are back for another eerie trip out into that spooky forest that is craft beer and great music. Welcome to the Halloween edition. Hi guys, it's me. Tonight we're going to be having a little spooky show on this special Halloween edition. We're going to be having a Black IPA. This is a collaboration between the folks at Cinderlands Brewing Company in Pittsburgh, PA, and Alematic Artisan Ales from Huber Heights, Ohio. A lot of alliteration there. This is a Black IPA. We'll be getting into that in a minute. But it's called Ghosts of the Forest. It kind of has a spooky looking can. Yeah. Definitely into the Halloween spirit there. So, what does the brewery have to say about this beer? Ghosts of the Forest is our 2024 Barrel and Flow collab. If you don't know what Barrel and Flow is an annual event that happens in Pittsburgh that features a lot of craft beers and things like that. But Ghosts of the Forest is our 2024 Barrel and Flow collab with our friends at Alematic Brewing in Huber Heights, Ohio. We brewed a Black IPA with orange blossom honey to dig into our shared history in the steel industry's boom and bust. The bricks of central Ohio built bustling terraforms of beehive coke ovens in the forests in the Appalachian foothills. Coke companies produced this critical steel component in patches of green nature, turning them for a time into buzzing dens of industry buried deep in our woods. 100+ years out from their peak, these beehive coke oven plants are now ghosts of the forests, dotting the landscape along our coal corridors. We brewed this beer with cold IPA methods, including a grist of Pilsner malt and flaked maize, of course, with some debittered black malt for color, and a hefty dose of orange blossom honey to lighten the body and to make this a crisp summertime riff on the style. Nelson and Mosaic Dynaboost lay the hot side hop base. Then we dropped a huge dry hop of Nelson Cryo, Mosaic, HBC 1019, and Columbus Cryo. So they throw a lot of information in there at you, and we will talk a little bit about it before we crack into the beer. It does come in at 6.6% ABV, but does not have an IBU statement. I'm expecting it to be, since it is an IPA, I am expecting it to have a firm hop bitterness. But let's talk about those hops and some of those terms in there. Nelson, Mosaic, HBC 1019, Columbus, those are hop varieties. But when you see those words like Dynaboost or Cryo, that's referring to a specific type of hop product. The vast majority of the time, when a brewery is brewing a beer, they're using hop in pellet form. Looks kind of like that. You take the hop flower, you process it, you end up with a pellet like that. What Dynaboost is actually a proprietary process from Yakima Chief hops, where they use a CO2 process to end up with a flowable, oil-rich extract of hops. So it's supposed to give you a huge boost to the aroma impact of that particular hop. So they're using Mosaic Dynaboost on the when they say hot side. Now we're talking about uh, in the brewing process, which again we'll talk about that in a second. But let's get cryo out of the way, and then let's talk about what we expect to see out of those different hops. Cryo refers to a process in which the whole hops are processed into pellets, but they're processed using a cryogenic process in a nitrogen rich environment. So cryogenic just means really, really cold temperatures. So what you end up with are pellets, but these pellets are much more highly concentrated. You can essentially get double the potency of the hops in the same mass, in the same amount of pellets. So those are your two processes. When we talk about hot side, cold side, or hot side, dry hop, um, the brewing process is divided into stages. You have a mash stage, then you have the boil stage, then you have the fermentation stage, and then you have packaging or aging or whatever might come after fermentation is done. The drop in temperature after the boil stage, before the fermentation stage, is what delineates the difference between what we call hot side, anything that happens before you chill the wort down after the boil, and then cold side. Cold side is after you chill the wort down and pitch your yeast and start that fermentation process. So when they say hot side hop base, that means in the boil they put, or when the boil ended, what they call knockout, or at the whirlpool stage, they added the Nelson and the Mosaic Dynaboost, the Mosaic extract. So typically, malts that are going in on the hot side are going to give you that formation of bitterness. Are going to give you a little bit of aroma, a little bit of hop flavors, but they're going to really contribute a lot of alpha acids, and you're going to end up with however bitter that beer is going to be driven by your hot side hop additions. Once you get onto the cold side, adding hops at this point is usually referred to as dry hopping, or adding hops after fermentation is started or even after fermentation is finished. At this stage, the wort is cold enough that there's not going to be a whole lot of isomerization of your alpha acids, which is a very fancy way of saying you're not going to be adding a whole lot of bitterness. You're going to be primarily adding the hop characters, your aromas, your flavors are going to come through from those hop additions, but you're not going to increase the bitterness of the product. Nelson hops, also called Nelson Sauvin hops, are known for delivering notes of citrus, tropical fruit, and white wine. Mosaic is berry, citrus, and stone fruit. So you can see we're really piling up the fruits here. Those are your hot side hops. On the cold side, there's more Nelson, Nelson Cryo, more Mosaic, HBC 1019, which is a little different. Is supposed to deliver Valencia orange, caramelized bananas, peaches, and honeydew. And then the Columbus is herbal and lemon. So that's what you've got there. That's what's going on. Now they've added they what they call a hefty dose of orange blossom honey. That's going to give the yeast more sugars to work with, which is going to raise the ABV. We come in at a 6.6% ABV, which is pretty decent size. So the addition of that orange blossom honey, You're going to have some residual flavor, maybe a touch of residual sweetness, but not really much because all of the sugars that are in that honey that's been added are going to be eaten by the yeast. And when yeast eats the sugars, you don't, they take away the sweetness. What you end up with is higher alcohol content. Let's crack this boy open and see what we got. It is definitely black. And a little too aggressive on the pour, but hey, look at that cascade. Whoa! That's beautiful. Ah, I'm smelling a whole lot of fresh citrus, even at a distance here. Beautiful, thick tan head, fluffy, little rocky, predominantly very fine bubbles, but there are some bigger ones. It's dissipating, but none too quick. You can see the color is very dark. Cannot see through it. Yeah, even up to the light, cannot see through that. So they've lived up to the visual expectations of a black IPA. Now, a black IPA, you might be looking at that and going, "Oh, that must be really heavy." It shouldn't be. It should not be tasting heavy or feeling heavy at all. It should be very much like other IPAs you may have. It should be hop forward. I'm expecting this one to be very complex in the hop character. On the malt side, I don't expect a whole lot. Maybe a little bit of cerealness. Kind of that very light corn pop type of malt sweetness because they do have some flaked maize. Flaked maize is flaked corn. Uh, but let's see what we got on the nose. Yeah, it's very. I mean, it's if you blindfolded me and held this up to me and said, "Hey, try this, smell this. What kind of beer is it?" I'd be like, "Oh, it's an IPA." Get a lot of various citrus, a little bit of pine resinousness. Not really getting any of the white wine notes from the Nelson that's on both the hot and cold side. Little tropical, almost like a little bit of mango and banana. So it is. I mean, it's very pungent. It's very complex on the nose, but let's see how it is on the palate. Hmm. It is extremely light bodied. They've really lived up to what they describe in that it's crisp, it's light bodied. It does have a very firm bitterness that comes in right in the mid palate and lasts through a very lingering finish. But you do get a lot of other sensations in there. Up front, while I'm inhaling as I'm taking that sip, I'm getting strong herbal resinousness, all that that I don't want to say vegetative because there's an off flavor that you can get that's vegetal and that's not what I'm getting. But there's a very strong, almost like smelling what a Ricola tastes like type of thing. You know how like you take a Ricola throat lozenge, you get that real herbally flavor. Well, I'm getting that on the aromas as I'm inhaling when I'm taking that initial sip. And by the way, that's a great habit to produce. Most people do it naturally, but think about it next time you're taking a sip of beer to inhale just as you start to take that sip. It really impacts the perceptions of what you're getting off the beer. But you get that herbal, little bit of like lemon orange right up front. Yeah, you don't really get any of the honey has completely fermented out. There's no residual sweetness. The honey really all it did was uh, lighten that body and leave you with something very dry and a little higher ABV. The fruits, the tropical fruit notes, the banana doesn't really come through. I get a little bit of wine like flavors towards the back end, but there's a firm but pleasant herbal bitterness that comes right in the mid palate and just sits there. Stays, doesn't fade away, just stays there through a lingering dry finish. That's a great example of a black IPA. It's very good. But what do we want to pair on this special Halloween edition with the spooky ghosts in the forest black IPA? Well, what might lurk in forests on Halloween? Perhaps witches. Enjoy.
She's an evil chick. Say she's the witch. She got a long black hair and a big black car. I know what you're thinking, but you won't get far. She's gonna make you ill, 'cause she's the witch. Well, she runs around late at night. Most of the people sleeping tight. If you hear a knocking on your door, you better sing it away. Wow, wow, baby, wow. Now you know the score, 'cause I sent you straight. But you better be careful before it's too late. She's gonna make you ill, 'cause she's the witch. She's the witch.
So, what did you think of that? That's a great song. I'm glad I found it. I was unaware of the existence of the Sonics. As you saw, that was from 1966. So, even before I was born, and I'm friggin' old. The Sonics, as you saw in the factoids there, credited with being one of the founding bands of punk rock. I mean, they definitely sound like a '60s band, but the very simple chord progressions and the very aggressive manner in which they attacked the notes and the screams, the vocals, really did lay a lot of groundwork for punk rock. You saw some of the bands that had been influenced by the Sonics. There's many more. There's many. I mean, you can easily hear the Sonics in bands like the Melvins, even like Butthole Surfers to an extent, although they're much more of an acid type of punk. But anyway, getting off on a sidetrack. Great song, great beer, very fitting for this time of year. If you haven't tried Black IPAs, don't be afraid. Give them a whirl. They're pretty good. This one in particular is very approachable. It's firmly bitter, but it's not abrasively bitter. It's not astringent. It's not making me gag or anything like that at all. And you do get some unique complexity in the hop profile. So it is an interesting drink. But if you like what I'm doing here, give it a thumbs up. Give me a treat on this Halloween. Subscribe. When you subscribe, hit that notification bell because I'm putting out new content all the time, and I would hate for you to miss any of it. But more importantly, leave me a comment. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know what you're hoping to get in your loot bag this Halloween. Let me know if there are particular bands or beers you wish you would see on this channel. But until next time, my dear internet friends, may you get all Reese's Cups and Snickers and none of those fucking taffies.